How are you? It's Abby Glassenberg here at Craft Industry Alliance. I hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday. And we come to you live every Wednesday, usually to do a member spotlight where we get to drop in on a Craft Industry Alliance member and learn more about their business, which is always super fun. And this week we actually also get to talk with a Golden Scissors sponsor. So if you're not sure what the Golden Scissors Award are, we're going to talk a little bit about what they are. We're going to have Sally Holt here from KnitCompanion shortly, and KnitCompanion is one of our Golden Sisters sponsors again this year, which is super fun. Hi, Sally. How are you?
Hi, how you doing, Abby? Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you again as well. So I'm doing great. And I was just talking a little bit about the Golden Scissors Awards. So I just wanted to sort of briefly explain what that is, and then we're going to dive into what Knit Companion is all about. So the Golden Scissors Awards, for people who are like, what is that? It's an awards program that we started a few years ago, and it's a way of recognizing excellence in the crafts industry. So we have 5 awards, and they're things like Emerging Leader, Lifetime Achievement, Innovation, Sustainability, and Social Impact. And anyone can nominate anyone, including yourself. It's totally free throughout the whole month of January. And then an independent panel of judges. We have 7 wonderful judges this year. Looks at all the nominations through 2 rounds of judging and picks the winners. And actually, judging just closed. And I know who the winners are, but I'm not telling. So the winners are recognized live on stage at H&H Americas at our opening session. And it is so lovely. Many people were crying last year, including myself, because it's such a wonderful thing to be able to recognize people who are really doing excellent work in this industry.
Yeah.
And a lot of this is made possible because we do fly our winners in so that they're able to accept in person. And a lot of that is made possible by our sponsors. So first of all, thank you for being a Golden Sisters sponsor.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a program I really like, and I can remember when I started getting into the industry in '09 and 10 and 11, the folks who were kind of getting to retirement age and kind of aging out, um, you know, it was really important to recognize what they had contributed
Yes.
to make the industry better. So
100%. I love that. And the
yeah,
people who are like up and coming and doing innovative things. So I think that's fabulous. So anyway, I hope everyone here who is going to be at H&H will join us live on stage to find out who the winners are.
yeah,
So Sally, tell us a little bit about Knit Companion, because I think Knit
yeah.
Companion is super cool. It's something that everyone who knits and crochets should know about. And so for anyone who's like, what is that? Tell us sort of like
Yeah.
the elevator pitch.
Yeah, so it's an app and it's available in all the different app stores. And it's really designed to help you keep track of where you are in your patterns. And I launched the first version back in 2011. And it really came out of my frustration as a knitter, wanting to be able to actually be more portable, but also to just have less like stuff that I had to do while I was knitting. I didn't want to have to put my knitting down to move a marker, like a magnet marker or what piece of washi tape, or pick up a pencil and scratch on my chart that I'd finished a row. I just didn't want to have all that stuff. And then when I started to do sweaters and other kinds of garments that had more shaping, I didn't want to have to keep track of like 5 or 6 different things that you were supposed to be doing at the same time as you were maybe working a complicated pattern, right? And maybe trying to learn something new, like learn how to cable or learn brioche. And if you have to keep like putting stuff down and marking and trying to keep track of all that, it's just a lot of mental load. It's just a lot of extra. And then all those tracking technologies, they're not tools, are not particularly portable. And so I found if I wanted to leave like this one spot of my house that had everything perfectly set up, I could really only bring simpler projects with me. And
Mm.
so that's really, the app was born out of my personal desire and need. And then over the years, it's been really shaped by certainly my growing needs, but also my customers' needs. And a lot of what we have in the app has been formed and shaped by feedback from customers, requests from customers, for all kinds of new and innovative stuff. An example of that's our inverted marker, which like lets you dim away everything except the current row, so that
Oh, that's
yeah,
cool.
it's really nice because it makes it really easy to see the current row, but also see what came before. So if you read your knitting or want to learn how to read your knitting, you can like see what came before. And then you can also see what's coming. Because what excites me about getting to the next row is that excitement of, oh, getting to see the pattern develop or get to see the next big
Right.
cable cross that's going to complete this motif I've been making. And so that excites me. And it was always frustrating to me. Like if I had, I used magnets. If I had a magnet, I had to either put it below so I couldn't read my knitting, or I had to put it above so I couldn't see what was coming. And so little things like that inverted marker are all recommendations, suggestions from customers who have, really contributed a lot. In fact, some of the new stuff we've come out in the last year since we talked last, Abby,
Yeah.
was actually directly related to someone who came up to me at Vogue and showed me this thing that she had done using the existing tools in KnitCompanion, but it was a lot of work to do it. And she showed it to me and I was like, oh my gosh, we're working on this feature set and it'll be really easy to like slip in a super automated way to provide the same capability without having to do all that work. And so we came out with that a few months ago, and it's really exciting. She came up to me at Vogue and she was like, thank you. So it's really exciting and wonderful to be able to do that and have that kind of relationship with your customers where that information can come in, kind of get synthesized, and then kind of come back out in the product in a way that helps people. So
You're kind of someone who crosses both worlds. So tell us a little bit about your background that made you like particularly, skilled to be able to tackle something like this, because you're somebody who has a deep passion and love for the yarn world and also has this other background that you kind of were able to bring to the yarn world in an innovative way.
yeah. So I mean, my background, I was a technology person. I went to school for a computer science degree. I worked in a variety of different companies, a lot of startup companies. So I got a lot of, startup business, small company kind of experience. And when you work at small companies like that, you get a lot of exposure to different roles from sales and marketing, product management, development, customer support. And so over 25, 30 years in that industry, I really developed a lot of skill sets around running a tech company
Yeah.
and doing the different jobs of a tech company. At the same time, I had learned to knit and crochet as a kid. And then I was super busy, really busy all the time, and kind of didn't do it for a really long time. And I picked it back up again maybe about 20 years ago. And that really picking that back up as an adult and starting to like have resources like YouTube to learn how to do things, and then getting to go to like the first sock summit and some of the early festivals that aren't even around anymore and take classes from teachers. It really elevated my skills and also actually gave me some of the ideas for what KnitCompanion could be, should be, what I wanted to be. Um,
Okay, and so
yeah.
you created an app, and I think creating an app and getting it in the App Store, this is also a really big hurdle, and it's not as easy to do as somebody might assume. So talk to
Yeah.
us a little bit about that process and kind of what you've learned over the years, especially around like free, premium, freemium, and all
Yeah.
those different models, because you have to make all those choices.
Yeah. And I think we've been through every one of those model options. Um, so, getting stuff into the App Store isn't easy. Because you have to be able to build whatever it is you want to build. People talk about, oh, AI can write the code now, and
Yeah.
maybe you could write something simple. But if you want something like I have customers, and even myself, where I have a sweater that I started back in 2012, 2013 in KnitCompanion and abandoned for years, picked it up again at Christmas time, finished it, and it was this super complicated thing where if I had not had KnitCompanion, there's no way I could have picked it back up again in the
Right.
right spot. Picked it back up again after what, a decade, more than a decade, and was able to finish it. And I actually wore it at Vogue a couple weeks ago. If you want to be able to have a platform that's like long lived like that, where you
Yeah.
can start something 10 years ago and then pick it up 10 years later and have it just work and have like whatever format, like things change, things don't stay the same
So much. Yeah.
from over a 10-year period, right? you know so you want to have that kind of sustainability in your platform. AI is not going to give you that. It might write code once, but then as soon as something in the environment changes and you have to go edit or maintain that code. It's computer generated code. It's a nightmare to maintain. If you
Sure.
ask AI to rewrite it for you to adjust to whatever the change is, good luck over time keeping that going. So you need to have that skill set to be able to do kind of product architecture and then the development of that architecture. And I've been very fortunate. I have a business partner who's really skilled in the architecture side. And so together we've been able to create a product that can live really long across lots of platforms, across huge generational changes in those platforms, and still be able to maintain kind of consistency across as it grows and grows.
And I think another
Getting
strength
something in
of
the
yours,
apps. Oh,
I
go
was
ahead.
going to say another strength of yours is that you also come from the community of knitters and crocheters. So
Yeah.
oftentimes, and we've all seen this happen, you've got these like tech bros, no offense to the tech bros, but they come from outside and they're like, they have dollar signs in their eyes and they're like, we're going to get into this market.
Yeah.
And it's totally tone deaf and they don't understand who we are and what we do. So you kind of bring both.
Yeah, that has been really good to be able, because I don't think you can actually build for this environment because people are like, oh, it's simple and it should just be simple. But we all know that knitting, crochet, any kind of craft work, it is simple. It's just knits and pearls. But once you really get into it, it's very, very complicated. And if you don't come to this with that understanding, you're not going to be able to produce something that can handle that complexity. And I get asked all the time, like, why do you have so many features in KnitCompanion? Why can it, the flip of why can it do so much is it's kind of hard. There's too much to learn. And I'm like, first of all, you don't need to learn everything up front. And
Okay.
you don't necessarily need everything for every project. But when you hit a project that needs XYZ capability, you're going to be really glad that it's there. And a lot of the apps I see, they are on the, I don't mean to sound bad here, but they kind of focus on like the simple side of it. But
Mhm.
then they just don't have the gas, if you will, to keep going, or the electricity these days to keep going and to be able to handle more complex things as their user base grows. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. And getting something in the App Store is only the first step, right?
Okay.
Because once it's in the App Store, you have to be able to sell it and market it. It's really hard to reach people. So I feel like sometimes I put the same message out over and over and over again, and people must be getting tired of it. But then I still run into tons of people who've never heard the message before. And so that's always a really challenging thing. And then I kind of hinted at this before, the underlying platform, the tools, the technologies, the interfaces, things change and evolve over time. So
Right.
you don't write it once and then just let it go. Even if you never add another feature to your app, you need to be able to maintain that app. I've gone through three um, programming languages on Apple, two programming languages on Android. And so you have to basically completely rewrite for the new language, for the
Wow.
entire new infrastructure that's continuing to evolve. And it's not that the rewriting doesn't make it better, but it's a ton of work because you're redoing the app all the time. And that's not adding a new feature, that's just keeping it working with the current environment.
Yeah.
And so we tried initially, we had a basic free app with a one-time purchase. And the problem with apps is a lot of times when you do software, you have a maintenance and support, which is an annual ongoing maintenance and support.
Sure.
That's usually a percentage of what you paid for the software originally. We didn't have any of that. The app stores still don't support anything like that. And
Right.
it became almost, it was actually when we switched to an annual subscription model, it was, we either make this work or we're going to have to close and go away
Right.
because we couldn't
You have
afford
people
to keep
paying
maintaining.
once for
Right,
something that
because we
you
were
have.
rewriting and rewriting and rewriting. We couldn't afford to keep maintaining it, never mind add new features, if we didn't have, an income stream that was workable and reliable to be able to do that. And so we're free to download and use for all
Okay.
your patterns with the basics. And then it's $30 a year so that you can use all the extended features. And that's from all the app stores, it's the same price. And if you're international, you might see it in pounds, you might see it in euros. So of course that conversion happens, but it's $30 a year in US dollars. And so that gives us that base so
Yeah.
that we're able to actually maintain the app. keep it going, because the people who are using it, the one thing I've learned is the people who use the app, whether they use it a ton and are, you know, super awesome experienced users, or they only use bits and pieces of it, the bits and pieces that they need for the types of projects they do, they love it and they want to keep using it. And
Right.
the only way we can keep this app working on the new operating systems, current, all that kind of stuff, is to have that kind of recurring revenue stream. So that's been working for us pretty well. So yeah.
And just for the nuts and bolts, so if you're somebody who's brand new, you're going to go try the free version because you just want to try it out, get this
Yep.
the sort of most basic features. You're going to download the app. It's going to be on your phone, set up your account, all of that. And then you go and get your pattern. Let's say you buy a pattern on Ravelry. What do you do next to get this to get started?
Yeah. So I can just swivel around and show
Yeah,
you really quick.
that sounds good.
So this will just take, we'll see how this works camera wise.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, and I'm just going to turn this off so we don't have that horrible glare. I'm in a project right now, but
Okay.
I'm going to just go ahead and close this. So what you'll do is you'll just tap this Ravelry button at the top. It'll take it a second here to load, but this is my personal Ravelry library.
Okay.
So I can pull in any pattern that I want. So if I wanted to pull in this pretty blue shawl, I can just tap on that. It goes ahead and downloads that. I'm not going to view the PDF. I don't have permission to show that publicly, but
Right.
now I have that PDF here local
Okay.
that I can work with, right? And then when I go in and I make a project, I can just say I want to start a project, and I do have permission to show this. We'll just give it some random name. I do have permission to show this one, so we'll just come in here, and here we can actually see we've got a row marker that'll kind of show us where we
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
as we work through our rows. We've also got this, it's called the sliding stitch marker, that helps us keep track of where we are when we're working along the
Right.
rows. Yep. And I want to show you, since we're here,
Yeah.
I actually want to come in and show you guys this new thing we added. I call it Beth's pop-up because her name is Beth. Last names for privacy and all that kind of stuff. This is our inverted marker, where
Oh,
only the current row is
yes.
bright, so we can see that only the current row really is super bright here. And then our magic markers are like counting and coloring stitches for us and giving us, like, telling us there's 9 purls before the next knit. But Beth's pop-up is basically this ability, like this is a cable, and it has this ability to tell you step by step how to execute that particular stitch.
Ah,
So this is a 3-way cable. Even if you're familiar with cables, 3-way cables are like a whole new world. And that's actually going to give you that instruction set
right
for being
there.
able to bring that up. So we call it Best Pop-Up. She did this really amazing thing, but pretty painful, where she made her own pop-ups over every cable she needed help with. But we've now built that capability right in. So
That is so cool. And I hope this really gives people a concrete understanding of what you're getting. You're getting an enhancement, a digital enhancement of your pattern to make
yep,
it so that you can have an easy experience, that is going to
yeah,
be fun and portable. Everyone's got your phone with you all the time. I always think about how they
yeah,
always say that like everything that was in Radio Shack is now in your phone. Well, this
yeah,
is like even something else, that
yeah,
it makes where your phone really makes the experience of these patterns so much better in a
yeah.
way that we couldn't have had before.
Yeah. And, I do want to point out, so we built KnitCompanion so that it could work with any pattern. So you can bring in any pattern from Ravelry and have all of the tools KnitCompanion provides for any pattern that you're working with. And I think that's pretty special, because the other thing I'm seeing kind of a lot of in like the other apps are apps that come with a preset group of
Yes,
patterns,
you
and
can
then
pick
that's
from
it.
our library, right?
That's it. They come with their own library, and then that's all you've got. Whereas we really invested in designing and creating tools that could be applied to any pattern. And then that gave us the flexibility of using any pattern. And we've been so fortunate over the years to partner with, now I think it's over 160 designers. We've got a collection of about 2,000 patterns that are pre-formatted for KnitCompanion, so you don't have to use the tools in KnitCompanion yourself. We've done that for you with my team of tech editors, but
Okay.
it's almost the best of both worlds. It's this really large collection of pre-formatted patterns, plus all the tools you could ever use. The same tools we use for that collection are available to our customers to use. And we've really spent a lot of time making them easier, smarter, more friendly to use. And so that is really giving us a really solid platform.
That's super. It's great. And I also feel like you've been around for a long time. And, I think there's a lot, it's hard to be in business for a long time. And there's a lot of businesses, I would say most small businesses don't last,
Yeah.
for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
But because it's a struggle and it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're here, you've been in it for the long haul, you're part of the community. And that makes a big difference too, as far as like the people's relationship with you. They know you as the founder, and that kind of personal relationship and admiration for what you've built. I think it goes a long way too.
Yeah, it's been so much fun. I always say that when I started in computers, I didn't know there'd be quite this much yarn involved when I was working with computers. But it's great. I mean, I really love it. It's
Yeah,
really awesome. And
it's.
I try not to do the math on how long I've been working on Knit Companion. Every year that gets bigger, I'm like, okay, we're not doing that math anymore because it has been a while.
Yeah,
But
amazing.
it took a while as well. Like from our first version to where we are now is like you know multiple generations of differences and improvements. And it really took until a few years ago for this to become a viable
Yeah,
thing where it's actually paying a living wage to the group of people that we have. And for a long time it really wasn't that. And
right.
I think that is such a struggle. And people think, oh, I'll do it for a year and then it'll make enough money that I can do it. And it isn't. It's like 7 years, 8 years, something like that before you can really become a viable thing. And that is super hard. And it's a privilege to be in a position to be able to put in that kind of time and effort. So
Yeah.
recognizing that too. Yeah.
All right. So everyone who's watching today, go download Knit Companion, even if you're a beginner crocheter, beginner knitter, or you've been doing this for many years. Bring in one of your Ravelry patterns and give it a try if you haven't tried it yet. And see what you think. And I think you're gonna love it. And I also wanted to reiterate that you should join us at H&H Americas the morning of Wednesday, May 6th at 8:30 a.m. We will be on stage. Last year, there were over 800 people in the audience. It's a very big room. And we hope to have even more this year. And we're going to be giving out the Golden Scissors Awards live on stage to our winners. And thank you to Knit Companion for being one of our generous sponsors this year.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you so much, Sally. Great to see you again. Thanks to everybody who joined us, and we'll
Yep.
see you next week. All right,
Bye.
bye.